In a land as dangerous and violent as ours, being on top means nearly everything. The world is run on a food chain on who is the top dog. Political leaders may have strength through words, though may not wield legendary spells or ancient techniques to help them. Those who yearn the most to reach the top are ruthless and determined. Through the sifting sands, vagabonds rob and monks find their inner self. Though as the white-robed warriors sit about and meditate, true warriors train their bodies to the absolute maximum. One of these many warriors had chosen this path and made their way to the Sea of Dust. With nothing to their name, they only held the fire of diligence within themselves. They had heard of the legendary few known as the Oni, and had opted to train with them. They never believed in the teachings of the monastic order, as they sought a more direct form of action. Scaling the high cliffs, they traveled far and traversed the rough terrain before arriving to see a man leaning against a wall. They had asked the man about the Oni, and he reveals that he is among the few who had been taught the martial arts, mastering it to some degree, and was willing to teach anyone who was worthy of training. However, the trainee that had sought him was not worthy as of this moment. They had the strength and determination, but nothing to show of it. They had to pass the first trials to become an Akuma. They had to do battle with others across the land. This is a sort of proverb used by Akuma. They strive to be on top, above the rest. Their journey will have them fight anyone they come across and potentially brutalize them. They aren't to hold back their strength. They are to become feared, to become approached by the best, so that they too can be defeated. They are to channel their rage into every strike, to attack with intent, to want to absolutely obliterate their opponent. Now, with bloodied knuckles, and their rage acting almost as sustenance for them, they return to the man and ask him to teach them. And teach them he did. These abilities require the user to channel their anger into focused attacks that would do a plethora of effects. Many of these attacks were channeled into the legs, as two of the techniques, leg breaker and spin kick, have the user focus all of their anger into a direct strike, either destroying the target's femur bone or breaking a few ribs. Either attack is able to blast straight past plate armor. In addition to their twin leg based attacks, they have one of their most iconic martial techniques, known as Rising Dragon. Once more, they channeled their anger, and in a sort of spiral motion, they spin upwards, corkscrewing their fist into their target's jaw. With these newly acquired abilities, the newly titled Akuma is able to return to the world to finally set a name for themselves as they do battle with the strongest opponents they can find, even if these opponents wield dangerous and unknown abilities. They shatter the blades of Wraith Knights, smash the helmets of Sigil Knights, and crush the bones of any mage they see. However, Akumas will always go after one another, beyond all else. They see themselves as the greatest fighters, and as a result, they will seek other Akuma, as they all share the same ideology. Fights between Akumas are often destructive, as they'll either be quick or long. If two are equal in power, then it is up to who shall make the first fault. Their teacher Ethan will then tell them to continue training, as their paths might cross one day once again. The Akuma would continue to fight and train, as their story would continue to blossom. With the Tundra's gate now opening for adventurers to explore, they decided to journey within to possibly find new opponents to do combat with. This new and rugged atmosphere had brought an array of new challenges to overcome, both fauna and temperate ones alike. Unlike many before them, this hadn't stopped them, and they continued onwards. The trip had them stop by a blizzard-blocked temple, one that contrasts the harsh and cold landscape of the tundra. Inside, they take temporary refuge to rest their weary body, though as they rest, they can feel as if something lurks within this old structure, as if something sits within its bowels, prowling and waiting. It was found out that a serpent of molten rock resides deep within the temple's insides, as it exists as a sort of age-old creature and is seen as a guardian of the volcanic biome. Their rest at the temple was short-lived as they left and continued their trip. Finally, they had reached a cliffside among the tundra, and there they saw the visage of someone on the edge of the cliffs. Getting closer, they realized that it wasn't just anyone, but someone doing pull-ups. They had the same gi as Ethan. In general, they seemed like a much older Ethan. Approaching them felt difficult as they had an aura of intimidation around them, as if saying the wrong thing could have you thrown off the cliff to become a howler's chew toy. Interrupting the man's workout, they asked him to train them. At first, he seemingly ignores them. Then, he realizes who they were. Remembering the one they trained, Ethan, now known as Big Hoss, tells them to go prove their worth. They had remembered the beast in the temple, nor would they really disregard a possibly sacred creature, one that brings some sort of hope to the people who live in the temple. If you thought not, then you haven't been listening. They returned to the temple and headed straight for the deep regions of the temple. Traversing the magma-ridden zone, they reached the pit and dropped down. Approaching the end, they noticed various small trinkets laying about. Upon their inspection, it was when they realized that there was something behind them. A serpent loomed just before them, one of stone and lava. The two did not stall for even a moment as their fight broke out. Rocks were smashed and hits had been exchanged. In the end, the serpent's body had been destroyed, with the magma that was within its body oozing out. The Akuma's body was singed and was blasted with intense heat, causing it to obtain a red color. The moment they stepped out into the tundra, a feeling of satisfaction washed over them, not only from the cool wind soothing their burns, but the fact they were able to complete his trials. Once they returned, he had titled them as an Oni, and gifted his newest student a prayer bead necklace. The Akuma and Oni practice a very special martial art, one that was blessed onto their teacher, Big Haz, by a being known as Tsunakinti, the Leviathan of Heat. This powerful being, who resides in an alternate reality, is the father of draconic entities, most notably wyverns. From this, many deduce that the art that Big Haz teaches is called Way of the Wyvern, or simply called the art Tsunakinti. This sort of relation correlates with their more peaceful opposites, the Dragon Sages, who rather use lightning, the Gaia-bound power of dragons. Akuma and Oni are similar to one another, as they never stop training to become better. Akumas seek to fight the most powerful person they can meet, while the Oni try to fight the most powerful creature they can, whether it be humanoid or not. They also seek to find the legendary place, known as McDonald's, where their master seems to frequent, as the Onis wish to become as powerful as their teacher, perhaps even become a successor to the great Big Haz. Only the great dragon may tell if this comes true or not.